All right, how we doing, hockey fans? So, as promised, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So, what I'm going to be doing for as many of the playoff series as we possibly can is I'm going to have fans, at least one fan from each of the teams on, and we'll just kind of do a series preview from their perspective. So, depending on how you are seeing the layout up at the top right, that's Tristan. He's our Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Thank you for joining us, buddy. And then there in the bottom on the middle is Nick, and he's our Tampa Bay fan for today. And appreciate both of you gentlemen taking time out of your day to join us. And hopefully nobody else crashes into a tree outside my house and the internet stays on for the entire 20. That's twice in 6 months. Twice in 6 months, somebody different has crashed into the same pole. It's caught fire and burnt up the whole fiber optic cable. So that's a go figure. All right. So you guys are like two of the luckiest fan bases in the NHL from the perspective of, I mean, it's been since like basically the first month of the season. You pretty much knew this was your matchup, right?
Yeah, more or less, I would say. I think both teams kind of knew that this was kind of likely to be the matchup. The only real question, I think, was who was going to be where, whether we would get the second spot and Tampa would be third, or whether the Tampa would be second and we would be third.
Yeah.
I think that was really the only thing that was really
right
for a lot of the season, other than perhaps maybe one team faltering a bit at a key moment.
Yeah. So Nick, in terms of the Lightning, man, I don't trust it. I know that I had another Lightning fan email me thinking that's it. It's over. Their run is over. I don't trust it. My gut feeling, and I'm interested to see if this is the way you feel about it, is I'm not saying they were, in quotes, coasting through the season, but basically I feel like they're like, it don't matter. We just got to get in and play our game. And some of the ups and downs have just kind of been almost borderline. Maybe they're like, not to say they're bored, but like they know they can win anywhere in the playoffs and they're just saving it for that. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think, it's been obviously a pretty awesome ride for the past, even the year when we missed the playoffs. It's been basically almost 10 years of like, there's always a shot. There's always a chance we could do it. And I think going into this season, the way last season ended, the way the final ended, with Point being injured and just seeing like, I think most honest Tampa fans, would have said that if Point was healthy, maybe we win 3 in a row. Maybe. Who knows?
Right.
Nobody ever know. But Colorado deserved it. But then going into the offseason, knowing there's going to be moves that had to be made, biggest one probably being Palat, and then adding guys, losing guys. And so I think this season for me, and I try to, I think Tristan and you try to watch every single game as much as you can. And I think throughout the season, the common thread has been like, just win enough to get in, because once you're in as a fan, what we've seen is a different team. This year. Maybe that happens again. I'm not, fully convinced, but I also wasn't too worried during the regular season. I think if any of us were on that team, playing as much as they have, there's going to be games and dips and adding guys like Isamont, Janot, different random guys, and trying to work them into the lineup and make them actually, a playmaker. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm going to start asking some of the questions I emailed you guys about. Now, Tristan, I'm curious because I think in my preseason preview, I kind of picked Toronto to be what the Panthers were last year. I didn't think you guys were going to like blow it up like Boston level, but I picked you guys to be like the young, hot, up and coming team who just blew through the league because you were so motivated. So my question is kind of 2 points. How content right now is the fan base with the season that you guys have had? And then we'll start off in terms of the series preview. Give me what you think Toronto's key to the series is going to be.
So starting off with the first question, with how kind of content I would say the fan base is, I would say this year is probably the year where I feel like Leafs fans are more confident in the team than any other year. I know that's kind of a joke because every year seems to be the year in Toronto, but
I get it.
I think this team, we're seeing stuff from the Leafs we haven't seen in a while. It's a bit of toughness, a bit of edge, and a team that, is playing close games and tight checking hockey, which is kind of playoff hockey. It's something we haven't been good at in the past. Last year, I'd say we were a far better regular season team than we are this year. However, the moment we got into the playoffs against Tampa, they were really able to buckle it down. And in a few games there, they were able to just give it to us.
Yeah.
So I think our key to the playoffs this year is going to be sticking to the systems, playing a more defensive style. Matthews has been great in his own end this year. Marner usually is great in his own end. So I think having those guys perform as they are supposed to for the contracts they have is going to be a big key. And also some of the other guys we have. We have Ryan O'Reilly, who's a great two-way guy. William Nylander, who's kind of unproven in the playoffs. And John Tavares, who can show up some nights, and some nights he can show up, and some nights he's kind of not there. But against the Panthers, he always shows up.
just the sound of the game just brings so many memories. So, all right. So, Nick, pretty much the same thing. The one thing I want to say about interesting that Toronto and Florida, whose hump we can't cover is Tampa, and both teams have decided to embrace this more defensive style. Was impressed with the Leafs last game when we played. Definitely different last year for sure. Nick, same question to you. What do you think that the key for you all in terms of this series is going to be?
I guess the cliche thing to always say is like we have what is arguably the greatest goalie in the world. So that is right away. That's a huge factor. Only because on the other side, I don't know that. I think Samsonov is the guy. I think that he can be. I think he's a great goalie. But I think Vasilevsky clearly is the difference maker. But I think you're right too. I think this year, different than the previous years, we've played even more physical this year. And I think that probably plays into the fact that the guys that we've added have been different than the previous years of guys that we picked up at the trade deadline or one-year contracts. Like guys like Janot, Isamont, again, they clearly are a little more physical players. They're definitely looking to make their mark physically in the game, but they're also pretty skilled with the puck as well. But so besides Vasilevsky, I still think when it comes to playoff time that our bottom six, or even if you just say the fourth line, if you call it the school bus line or whatever, and maybe it gets broken up in the playoffs, I don't know, but Perry, Maroon, Belmar, those guys alone could make a difference in a game. We expect, there should be no doubt that Kucherov, Point, Stammer, those guys should show up, just like Matthews, Tavares, Marner. Those guys have no excuses. It's those bottom six guys that is kind of in question, specifically somebody like Nick Paul. Last year, phenomenal. This year, he's on like a 37-game goal drought. So right. It's really weird. But then on the other end, you have Hagel. Last night, he gets his 30th goal of the year. And Killorn quietly had the greatest career year, 62 points or something, 27 goals. So I think it's going to be the hidden gems from each team. That's what I think.
Yeah. With especially because they've won the cups and they've been like, you could look down the roster and there's like there's somewhere in there's a championship quality memory. You know what I mean?
Right.
And all the way down to Pat Maroon. You're like, yep, I remember that. I mean, just the play have just been there.
Right. Ian Cole. Ian Cole's another one. He won 2 cups with the Penguins, and that just more experience. So,
right. So we're going to reverse the questions now. Tristan, what do you think in terms of what's the thing you guys have to stop Tampa from doing that's going to lead to you guys hopefully winning?
I think the thing we have to stop Tampa from doing the most is stop those fourth line kind of guys, is Corey Perry, Pat Maroon, to a greater extent, a much more important guy, Alex Killorn. I think he's had a really good year. And I think last year he was really important in those kind of battles around the net and things like that against the Leafs where, once they take a few cross checks to the back, they don't really want to go near the net anymore.
Right.
And that kind of opens up Tampa's opportunities. So I think really the thing the Leafs are going to have to do if they want to keep Tampa out of it is they're going to have to continuously battle with those tough guys. Because I think in terms of forward talent, I think both teams essentially have kind of equivalent matchups. I think Stamkos and Point and Matthews, Marner, those guys, I think all of those guys, I think, are definitely going to show up. I think it's really the question of, are the depth guys for both teams going to show up?
Right. And Nick, same thing for you. What do you guys got to do to stop?
Well, one thing is stay out of the penalty box. I mean, this year it almost seems it's gotten worse and worse. Now, of course, the conspiracy side of the refs, but really I think the real problem is just staying disciplined, and whether that's because we've had ups and downs and maybe that's caused it, but we've been a more physical team. I think we have more fights. I forgot who's on our team has way more fights than, I don't know, the number 1 or number 2 in the league with fights. So picking and choosing those battles is going to be really smart. Like you're saying, if Killorn's down there, whoever, cross-checking and keeping people away from the net or fighting for position, just being smart and making sure that, our guys can stay in the rhythm, because what we've seen in the regular season, not just Lightning games, but Panther games, other games, is if the refs decide that they want to dictate the physicality at the beginning of the game, then each team is going to have to recognize that, because otherwise neither team wants, their penalty kill out there and having a Matthews or a Kucherov only playing, half the minutes they could and getting out of rhythm. So,
yeah, I can certainly agree with wanting to stay both teams. Just to the power play that Tampa put out to my Panthers both years. Let me know if you figure out how to per play. Braden Point, I greatly appreciate just figuring out and letting them know. We ain't out yet.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I know, right? Now we know about obviously Vasilevsky in Tampa. That's they've got all the eggs into that basket. How do you guys feel about your goaltending, especially when you're going up against Vasilevsky?
Going against Vasilevsky is the great unknown. Last year we looked all right against him. I wouldn't say we were able to really contain him some games. I believe he had one game where he really stonewalled us for like 42 shots or something. I think Samsonov can do it. However, we also have another option. We have Joseph Wall, who's our kind of up-and-comer. He's looked good in the regular season. However, in terms of goaltending, I would say it is still our weakest link in the chain.
Yeah. Does Samsonov have much? Well, he was the goaltender last year, right? So, I mean, he has shown up and shown in the playoffs that he can at least play well. And where do you think left slot in? Because when they he can look at for 5 minutes, but when he's no more goals, there's no more goals being scored. How you guys feel with all the workload that he's had and everything? Where do you feel he is right now?
Judge, you cut out just a tiny bit at the
Oh,
beginning
did I?
of the question.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is
No,
playing
you're
games. Basically, I was just asking you how you guys feel in terms of where Vasilevsky is with his game right now and his experience, and do you expect him to pick it up, and keep on keeping it?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a betting man, like I can't bet against Vasilevsky in the playoffs. Just look at his record. So
Right.
if you just looked at the playoffs, then it's a no-brainer that you would just think that he's going to turn it on. And the guys in front of him, like we've talked about, we've known this matchup is going to be for about a month, and there has to be a little bit of the mentality for these guys to not fall down and block shots, certain plays that you're not going to see, 3 games left in the regular season that we're going to start seeing next week. So I think it's like the game within the game, like Vasilevsky and the guys in front of him getting in sync.
Right.
I think my one concern with Vasilevsky, and this is something Toronto has probably exploited for sure, and even last year in the playoffs, and Colorado did it as well, is if you can get Vasi on, his glove side, like probably his biggest weak spot is that side, stick side, glove side. Yeah. And so we'll see how Toronto approaches how they're going to, get the puck on net.
Right.
I think a lot of teams have had success with screening. If he can't see it, obviously, then goalies have a tougher time.
Right.
But I don't know. I feel like game 1 we're going to find out pretty quickly, because it is going to be it's going to be all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
I think.
and it's going to be a little bit different for you guys because it's probably the first time in a while you're starting a series not at home. Now, you wouldn't have been at home against the Panthers last year, but I'm sure round 1 you guys are used to being at home. So, all right, let's get to the most important part, which is the predictions. And so, Tristan, I'm going to let you go ahead and go first, and then Nick will give his, and then I'll give mine, and y'all can throw stuff at my head.
Alrighty. Well, this might age poorly, but I'm going to say Leafs in 7. I think that this team looks a little bit different than this year. But at the end of the day, Tampa Bay is still Tampa Bay. I think there's no way you possibly beat Tampa Bay in anything less than 7 games unless you're the Colorado Avalanche last year. And even then, Tampa Bay had some pretty extensive injuries by that point. So I think that it's going to 7 games, and I think hopefully the Leafs can get the win. I think we're a little bit hungrier than Tampa Bay is this year. Tampa Bay, I think, is suffering a bit from the effects of too much success, where I think they are kind of a little bit more tired this year than they were the past couple of years.
Sure. All right, Nick, what you got?
So I'll first say I agree. Hey, if Toronto's going to win, if it's in 7 or it's a sweep, like power to them, because I do think that the pressure is heavily on Toronto to win. I think Tampa goes into this series with there is pressure, but I don't think there's as much pressure because they've won so much and having what some would say a mediocre end to the season or whatnot. But I think if Tampa's going to win this series, I want to say they win it in 6, only because if it goes to 7, I think that means Toronto has maybe figured something out that maybe they didn't last year, and especially not knowing how the lines are going to match up exactly each and every game. But I hope it goes 6. I hope we can steal just one in Toronto and be able to, close it out in Tampa and move on. But like I said, I'm a diehard fan, but I'm also a hockey fan. And so will I be disappointed if we lose? Sure. But I will be happy to see a team that hasn't freaking done it in so long. Guys that clearly have been, wanting it, but just haven't been able to get past the team. So, so I think maybe in 6. But if it goes 7, we'll pop a couple extra heart medications or something.
So the good news is that I found out just a little while ago. The schedule, your series is on the opposite days of the Panthers series. So I will be live streaming. Colin, I will be live streaming the Toronto Tampa Bay games as well. So as long as we can do that. My prediction is the same and different from both of you. I've got Tampa Bay on 7. And the reason why I feel that is a little bit of selfishness at the end, but I'm not convinced that I think this is the worst possible matchup for Toronto, in that I am not convinced that Tampa Bay is going to allow themselves to be eliminated in the first round as the end of their Eastern Conference dynasty. You know, they won it 3 years in a row. I'm really not convinced that when it comes all the way down to it, I think they've got enough gas in the tank for one more series. And so it wouldn't shock me to see Toronto win. Certainly they've looked better this year. But you guys, it's just like you guys got to exercise those Game 7 demons, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, Game 7 at home is like, I ain't putting my money on Toronto. It's like betting against Brady. It's like, when he retires, I'll bet against Brady. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, and I feel you, man. Believe me. I've sat on the couch multiple times in game, you know, in elimination games, in 2 overtimes, 3 overtimes. I get it. But yeah, I think, and the selfish part is because my Panthers are going to beat the Bruins, and it's going to be my Panthers that eliminate the Lightning and end their tyranny. That's what's coming. The puppets told me. The puppet's been telling me that all year. So,
well, I really do hope the Panthers just put a beating. I mean, it's probably not going to be a beating, but I hope that they can, because I just can't stand Boston. So
yeah, no, I think we would become America's team rapidly.
I would love to see just a long series. I don't care who wins. I just want to see a long series where both teams go at it.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that too. Obviously, we enjoy doing, you know, the games and everything. But I'm really happy that they're on the opposite days, so that and the NHL was smart about it, right? Because they know the Panther fans and the Lightning fans, there's crossover there, and they're going to want to watch both games. So it was good to see that. All right. Appreciate both of y'all taking some time out of your day. Hopefully the Wi-Fi held up good enough for us. Looks like it's solid now. What a night I had, because we not only had no internet, but remember, I lost my phone to the water last week, and then Amazon sent me the wrong phone. So I'm still without a phone. So there's no internet, no phone. And Kyle's just got a cheap program. Last night, he managed to get one tweet out to let everybody know, hey, we're alive. And then he ran out of data. So we were literally sitting there cut off from the entire world. And the only way I could try to get a hold of anybody was if I used Karen's phone. But to log into Google with her phone, they had to send my phone that I don't have the code. So literally, Jaws was just like cut off from the entire. It was just like all of the stars in the universe just aligned. And Colin and I just kind of sat in the couch. We just looked at each other. It's like, I guess we just watched the game. We didn't know what else to do. I guess we just watched the game. So, all right. Appreciate y'all taking time out of your day.
Definitely. And Tristan, nice talking with you. Definitely. Jaws, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish you luck in the series.
Absolutely,
If you guys advance or however it works, we'll have you again for the second round.
You can't have both of us, though.
Okay. That's a good point. Hey, I'm old, all right? I get confused.
That's funny.
All right, guys. Enjoy
Have
your
a good
day.
one.